Hi, welcome to Riff Vues. As you know, I've been doing a lot of videos on Fallout 4. I really enjoyed Fallout 4. As you can probably tell, I put 400 hours into the game. And now, I don't buy a lot of games these days. I really don't have the time to. But when I do buy a game, I put a lot of effort into it. I really get my money's worth. And I feel that I really did get that with Fallout 4, but was it perfect? No. Was it good? Yeah, I think it was really good, but where it missed really hard, I'll be honest. And so I thought I would take this time to have an after battle report type look at Fallout 4, including a quick look at all the DLC. So, as you can see, I'm still working on that damn Eyes on the Prize achievement. But other than that, the game is pretty much done, put to bed. There's still time to work on settlement building, mods. But let's take a look at the game. And like I said, it's not perfect, and don't think that I dislike the game. I really enjoyed it, but there's a lot of things I'm kind of disappointed with and things I think they did right. But let's start off with, just off the top of the bat, the level cap, or lack thereof. I was really worried before the game came out when I saw that poster, the one that came with the game, showing the perk system and how it's different from the past couple games. You no longer have, when you level up, you pick a couple. You can pretty much build your character any way you want. This is a good and a bad thing. Well, let me say it this way. You want to play the game any way you want. This is perfect for you. You don't have to start a new playthrough, but that's the problem. I never thought I would be upset by a lack of a level cap. And in this one I am. There's no real reason to play the game again. And I'll come back to that in a second, but in previous games, take for example, I'll go back one game here, Fallout New Vegas. I have two characters in that game. One is pretty much how I play most of the games, more ranged, gunplay. I don't sneak around a lot. I don't use melee, but that gave me a chance to play a second time where I did build a character, Radio Flavor Ice Cream, as I call her, who is melee. She's also more on the evil side. She is basically retarded, even an intelligence of 1. I know I should say, mentally handicapped, and she's also a cannibal. So she's an Asian, retarded, lesbian cannibal. It's coming to HBO near you, so. But because of the fact that there is no level cap, there really is no reason to play this game in a different manner. There's no reason to play it again like you could in other games, because there's no karma system. Oh sure, your companions may like you, they may dislike you, Preston may hate you after Nuka World. And that brings us to the next part. This is really a bad RPG, and as the games have gone on, they've gotten less RPG and more shootery, explorer type. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It works really well with Grand Theft Auto, for example. And this game really, really wants to be Mass Effect 2. And it's crazy how much it wants to be Mass Effect 2, and it doesn't quite get there. It loses some of the RPG elements, kind of like how Mass Effect 2 lost them from Mass Effect 1, and it adds in a little bit more companion storylines than were previously. Especially, say, for example, Nick Valentine, which you had one DLC that focused a lot on him and his relation to Dima, long lost brother. And there are little quests with some of the companions, but still not really caring enough. It doesn't quite do it the way I keep saying Fallout, the way Mass Effect 2 did. Fallout 4 in that regard is like the girl that likes you, and Mass Effect 2 is the girl you like, and she has that, kind of multicolored hair and neat haircut. So Fallout 4 goes and tries to dye her hair and cut her hair, but she goes cheap on it, so she just has one of those tiger striped bobs. You know what I'm talking about. This is where the analogy breaks down. Almost there, but not quite. And it's a little bit of a weak spot there. And as someone who really likes RPGs, without the level cap, you can just build a character and just become a god. Is that bad? Not really. But at this point, only survival mode is left to really make the gameplay interesting. And to be honest, I'm not really into survival mode. I played around with it, but it's really not my cup of tea. And that brings us to the storyline. Okay, hands up, who did not see the big thing coming with Sean? That was pretty much telegraphed, and Bethesda has never really been big with the storyline. Things kind of happen fast, especially Nuka World, where, hey, check it out, you're the overboss now. Weird system they have going on there, but they don't waste any time getting from point A to point B. And that's the problem with the storyline. It's pretty linear, and with the lack of a karma system, it falls back on the Mass Effect 2 thing, where they're trying to be the whole Paragon renegade, nice versus sarcastic, but in the end, it does not matter. And it falls into Mass Effect 3 category, where you have pretty much 3 choices. Yeah, you can have Minutemen ending, but let's be honest, that's only there in case you closed off the other 3 opportunities. So basically the game comes down to Institute, Railroad, Brotherhood, or in case you blew the other ones, Minutemen. That's really all it builds up to. It's pretty linear when you get to it. And of course you have the whole point, the MacGuffin, your son, Sean. Okay, that's a good story. A parent trying to hunt down their child no matter what. As a parent, I can relate to that. It has a good basis. But in this kind of situation, once the opening played and you see that, your character, whether it be Nora or the male character whose name I forget, once you see they've been refrozen after Sean has been taken, I knew immediately we're not going to see Sean as a baby. And credit to Bethesda, when I saw the 12-year-old Sean, I thought, oh, there's no way they're just going to jump ahead 10 years, or how many ever years. And so they kind of fooled me on that one when it turned out to be a synth. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting Sean to be older than the player character, if not dead. And to be honest, even though it would have been just as obvious having Sean/father be the main villain, I think it would have made things more interesting. When you do some of the Institute missions, quests, and father is prepping you to take over the Institute, that doesn't make any sense. And the rest of the Institute is right to call him out on that, because you've barely been in the new world for whatever amount of time, weeks, game time, however long it takes to find him. You really don't know the subtleties of how the world works. You're still pre-war. Your mindset, it's what your life has been. It's kind of like moving to a new city, moving to New York City, being there a couple weeks, a month, and they're trying to make you mayor. Yeah, you may have gotten a feel in that amount of time, but you really would not understand what it takes to run things. And having father be so nice to you, he had his whole life to get you out of suspended animation. And waiting to the end of his life, the whole storyline kind of falls apart. And that's the other problem, is the quests. It's a very linear story. Now granted, you could say Fallout 3 had a linear story. Instead of finding your son, you're searching for your dad. And this kind of takes you have to hunt for clues. Whereas you pretty much knew once you knew the Institute had Sean, you still had a lot of game to go after that. Whereas with Fallout 3, it seemed like you were hunting more clues to try and follow in your father's footsteps. And in New Vegas, you have a pretty defined mission: hunt down your would-be assassin. Yeah, these are still pretty much straightforward. Now, I'll be honest, I don't expect Shakespeare, I don't expect Poe, I don't expect Nietzsche from my video games, but I kind of wish they had a little bit more effort, and then the quests being so linear. And that's one of the problems I have with Fallout 4. There really was not any interesting side quests. It was a lot of radiant quests, things being marked on your Pip-Boy to rescue another settlement, but there was none of the flavor stuff. The combat zone, but you're there to pick up Kate. Vault 81, yeah, but you can pick up Curie there. There was no, what was the cannibal town in Fallout 3? Andale? Avdale? Something like that. You don't have that. You don't have the fiddle playing woman where you have to get her violin, which is totally not a fiddle. There's not that fight club place in New Vegas. Now, I know I'm talking about how great these side quests are, and I'm having trouble remembering the names, but you know what I mean. There was so much interesting stuff in the previous two games that you could go stumble upon the Republic of Dave, or the Gary Vault. I'm forgetting which vault that was.
Actually, I'll be back later.
Stuff like that. There wasn't so much of that in this game. It was pretty much Minutemen settlements, or run into this raider group, and there really weren't that many raiders in this game, I felt, especially after New Vegas. And you go down the path and there isn't a lot there. There's a whole lot of nothing when you get down to it. And I love exploring in these games. I've mentioned in previous videos that I like finding the flavor texts that tell me more about the world. Terminal entries, notes left by slavers, that sort of thing. When you run into the Republic of Dave, you realize, hey, here's a group of people that are trying to continue on in this post-apocalyptic wasteland that has nothing to do with the rest of the world. They don't care about the lone wanderer. They don't care about Project Purity. They're just trying to eke out a living. There wasn't really a lot of that in Fallout 4. And that's the other thing with the quest. What really sticks out, and now I'm just talking about vanilla game here, we'll get into the DLC later. What sticks out in Fallout 4? There are so many little missions in the previous two games that were just like, wow, that blew my mind. We all know the one I'm talking about in Fallout 3, where suddenly you're in a black and white world. You know the one. Everyone talked about that when it came out. That was just so incredibly mind-blowing. And it was dark, and it still felt right with the game. And off the top of my head, the closest I can think of is in Far Harbor with Dima's memory segment, which is kind of a low point in the game. That tower defense puzzle thing, which is based on the kind of crummy settlement building, was not fun, it was not tedious, and yet you had to do it to progress through it. And that is what I'm talking about. It may have sounded great in theory, but when you're spending a couple hours working on this, especially that last puzzle, whatever you want to call it, that last level, you know the answer, but it just is grueling to go through, and it's just not fun. And there's a lot of little examples in that. That's why I started out the video with the Eyes on the Prize achievement. Yeah, I'm not really an achievement whore for the most part. But when you have that one achievement that's just staring at you, I have to do it. It's not quite OCD, but I have to get it out of the way. Now, let's take a look at the companions. the companions are pretty interesting. But again, it's like in Fallout, I keep saying Fallout 2, it's like in Mass Effect 2. Some of them have little side missions, but for the most part, they're pretty boring. There's no growth to them. Nick has a little bit of growth, I'll give him that. But you look at, say, for example, Curie. Curie and Kate, who are the two that I carry with me the most. And the reason is they have a little bit of personal growth. Kate, you got to get her off drugs. And then once you get her off drugs, she hates it when you do any drugs. Makes sense. Curie, she's a robot, wants to be a human. Okay, we got the Pinocchio thing. But the problem is, both these characters are pretty much the same after as they were before. Okay, granted, Curie, you could romance her, she's in a human form, but she's still the same. There's not really a lot of new perspective from them. It's the same problem with Kate. She's still that rough tumble girl, kind of like Cassidy from New Vegas. Accents, reason why I had Kate and Curie with me a lot, but also I kind of like the two personalities. Nick is fun as far as I love film noir, so I really like Nick's character. But I didn't take him as much as I took the two girls. They were more interesting to me, and when I step back and look, they were still pretty flat. And the other ones, Preston is annoying. McCready, his claim to fame is that he was a kid in Fallout 3. You have Strong, Dogmeat. Okay, Dogmeat, Dogmeat's cool. I mean, I don't expect character growth on that, but again, the without the karma system, pretty much all the companions are the same. There's really no difference to it, and I think they kind of lost it on that. Whereas in New Vegas, you couldn't be friends with this person if you were evil, or friends with this person if you were good. There's no karma in this, so you can have all the companions pretty much in one place, with a couple exceptions. You can have them all pretty much in the same settlement without a problem. Now let's take a look at the replayability, and I've mentioned this before. Again, in the previous games, I played them through multiple times, experimenting with different characters, different character builds. And this one, there's really no real reason to replay the game. Now, I know what you're saying. I've played it almost 400 hours. I should be pretty damn sick of it. Yeah, but I wouldn't mind being able to start again with a different build without having to go into survival mode. Now, granted, that's kind of a minor complaint. There is a trade-off. Like I said, when you uncap the level, yeah, you can keep going, keep building up perks, and eventually become a god or goddess in your own right. There's really no reason to replay. But had there been the karma system in place with that, it would have been great to play an evil character versus a good character. In this game, the choices don't matter. Again, we're in Fallout 3 territory. Did I say Fallout 3? Again, Mass Effect 3 territory. None of your choices matter. And I think that's kind of one of the downsides of having a fully voiced character. Yeah, if it would have meant that we could have had more choices, more options, had it been similar to in the previous games where we have to choose our options off of a list and we don't have our character be voiced, I'd be okay with that. But the problem is that doesn't really fly anymore, and that's what we're seeing more. We're seeing that Call of Duty sells like gangbusters every year or every release, even though I guess the sales have been going down. But when you have these games like that and they are mega popular, you're going to have everyone following the leader. And that's why games get dumbed down. They have to appeal to the masses. That's why I am really kind of upset, as an aside, that Dead Rising 4 is taking out the time limit. Because people don't like it. And one of the things that to some people like us that makes a game great, the masses complain about it, so you have to sell as much. And that means you're going to sacrifice. And unfortunately, games without a fully voiced voice actor probably don't sell as much these days. And Fallout 4 did not hurt on sales. So if that's a smart business decision, I can't argue with it. So if it means a Fallout 5 as opposed to no Fallout 5, I'm behind it. So who am I to say? I kind of wish we would have had a good evil. And speaking of good evil, we have the DLCs. Now, I'm glad that I bought the season pass, which I never buy. This is the first time I've ever bought a season pass. And I'm glad I bought the season pass for $30. And of course, the 6 DLCs are Automatron, Wasteland Workshop, Far Harbor, Contraptions, Vault-Tec, and Nuka World. Automatron, I feel, really kicked things off pretty strong. And plus, it added robots, which are great with Nuka World. You could build robot farmers so that the raiders don't complain about having to farm. But Automatron is, I think it's pretty fun. And like I said, the robots make it all worthwhile. The Wasteland Workshop, however, is not so great. It does add a bigger power supply, as I mentioned in a previous video, and that's really great. I got so tired of the large generators and the windmills not doing much, but there's no real quest to it. And yeah, adding the animals is kind of fun, and the pit fighting, but that really wasn't fun overall for me. It was fun for an afternoon, and that was it. Now, Far Harbor is the biggest of the DLC, and it's really strong, do not get me wrong. You have several factions, you got the Children of the Atom, you got Dima's group, you got the Far Harbor people, and it is fun, except for, like I said, that Dima tower defense part, but it's still kind of gloomy. You have the Mariner, who's awesome, I like her. This is probably, in my opinion, the second best DLC. Contraptions, I did not even do a video about Contraptions because it was pretty much more of Wasteland Workshop. No quest, just some achievements. It added little symbols so you know which workshop added which thing to which thing, and it was kind of a waste. To be honest, if I did not get into settlement building, I'd be a little bit pissed to have paid $50 for a season pass. Granted, I only paid $30, so I don't mind all this. Vault-Tec Workshop, a little bit closer to Automatron. This is probably number 3 for me. I like the quests that come with it. Clem is awesome. We don't have too many characters like Clem, and that's what makes it so fun. And yeah, you get to build vault stuff. And maybe not underground, but you can still have, like I have my floating vault at Sanctuary. If the settlement stuff worked better, it'd be great. And then you have Nuka World, which maybe I'm still on that honeymoon period. This is really my favorite of the DLC. They ended strong, at least. I would say that Far Harbor and Nuka World are the 2 strongest. Automatron, Vault-Tec in the middle, and Wasteland Contraptions at the end, the low bottom. If things could have been somewhere between Automatron and Nuka World for all the DLC, I would have been perfectly happy. Nuka World, has the Raiders, and it addresses the whole being evil thing that I was just talking about. You can have bad karma finally at the expense of losing settlements, having Preston ticked off at you. It's great. Finally, your choices matter. It's a shame we had to go through 6 DLCs and the vanilla game before we got to that. That's probably the best part that it added. You can still play nice, you won't get all the achievements. If you want to get all the achievements, you gotta be a dick. And it's a trade-off. We get to see some of that gray mortality, morality that we had in previous games. And I really like that. It's nice to have seen that. It's just a shame it came at the end. Now mods. Mods are pretty much the last bastion of replayability, and PS4 brothers and sisters, I really feel for you. Now, to be honest, I'm not really into the mods. I've played around with some. I really like the radio stations. They add more flavor, and I'm always talking about flavor. I want the world I'm exploring, if I'm going to be exploring, I want it to feel alive. I want to feel that there are other people who are living their lives doing things that are not related to me. The Macho Man Deathclaw thing is just fun. That's kind of what I like. And the people who are modding, I'm not PC Master Race. I used to be, but I don't really use computers for gaming anymore. And so the modding community, the modders, a lot of props to them. There's so much imagination. And with the mod system, we can see the game continue on. Instead of the last DLC for a single player game, bloop, it falls off the radar, who cares anymore? No, we're still going to have Game of the Year come out this Christmas, I'm sure. Next year at the latest, with all the DLC. But with the modding, and again, sorry PlayStation people, you can breathe new life into the game. And that is so fascinating. And I like seeing what people are capable of. Yeah, there's the typical make the boobs bigger and make this character cuter. But you also have, like I said, the Macho Man Deathclaw. Or you have all the little different versions of your Pit-Boy. Or just all the neat stuff. New companions. The modding community is brilliant. And I've always said that. They are so creative and so clever. And now that I don't have to worry about achievements once I'm done with Eyes on the Prize, I plan on playing with the mods a little bit more, now that I won't be worried about being locked out of achievements, because it's not like they're going to make the game any buggier. Now, I'm just kind of flipping through here. I haven't looked at the mods in quite a while, and here's one that I think's pretty interesting. It looks kind of neat. The Synth Follower Mature Voice Edition. Let's take a look at what this is. Pancake Power. This mod allows a new fully voiced companion. Voiced by YouTuber Roulette. Take some voice lessons from her. So yeah, this is what I mean. I picked this one. Don't think I'm shilling for them. As I was scrolling through this while recording this, the kind of Tron blue caught my eye. And so let's go ahead. I'll download this. And I'll go ahead and I'll check it out afterwards. And I can queue up a bunch of things that I will check out later. That's what's great about the modding scene. And yes, I know, PC Master Race and all. And I'm glad to see this on consoles. But I really wish the thing that console games need is the command line, the command console, where you can move things that have been that have clipped through walls that you can't get back. I had that with one of the Nuka-Cola recipes, and I was able to get it back just by reloading a save. So at the end of the day, I know I've been kind of ripping on the game for about 20-some minutes. And that's not the case. I really enjoyed the game. I just felt it was too linear. And, you know, there's not a lot of it that really stands out. There's no really cool moments. There's not the whole getting a new brain for Rex or running into Dr. Braun or, for example, in Nuka World here, where you run into Sierra. As you saw in one of my previous videos, when I saw her arguing with the guard, I'm thinking, oh, is this Sierra? To be honest, I blanked on her name. And yeah, it turned out this is Sarah 10 years later from Fallout 3, which last time we saw her neighbor was trying to get into her pants. And she was too dim because she's all about Nuka-Cola. And she's an interesting character. She's kind of like one of the clams from Fallout 3. And there were so many interesting people in Fallout 3. So many interesting NPCs. And the same with Fallout New Vegas. Fallout 4, not so much. And again, it goes back to what I was saying, the side quests. They're just radiant quests that do the same thing over and over. Go to point A, shoot person B in the face, return to point C. Well, exploring in Fallout 3 in New Vegas, you came upon stories like Sierra. It had nothing to do with anyone else. It was her story, and you took part in it. It made the world feel alive. And there's not a lot of that in Fallout 4. So I'm hoping going forward, some of the things I've said, I hope to see these things addressed in Fallout 5. Maybe we'll see Moria come back. So, again, thank you for listening to me rant. This is a no order after report. I just wanted to get some thoughts out before they left my head while I was still thinking on Fallout 4. Before I start on my new project, I'm going to be working on some Dead Rising things as well as a few other things. So thank you for your time, and I still have a few Fallout 4 videos that I might throw up here and there, but for now I think we could probably put this to bed, unless there's some really cool mods I want to highlight and give some attention to. So thanks for watching. Talk to you next time.